everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Amanda Ostrander. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a place where we talk about all things homeschooling. And today I'm going to talk about what supplies you need if you're starting homeschooling for the first time. So if you are starting homeschooling for the first time, if you're new to homeschooling, you might be a little overwhelmed. The first couple weeks are always the most overwhelming because you have no idea what to expect. It's all on you all of a sudden. And, it's easy to look around and think you need all the things and that it is going to cost you a fortune, especially if you live in a place where you don't get funding. I don't get funding. We like that we don't get funding, because we have no strings attached, but it means that all the costs of educating our kids are on us. And if you're on a budget, if you're finding it overwhelming, if you're like, I don't even know where to start in terms of what supplies do I need, I'm going to help you out. So here we go. You don't actually need that much to get started with homeschooling. I think a lot of people, especially when they begin their journey, really kind of over purchase. They really think they're going to do all the things. They're going to be just like school. So they need all the stuff. They need the microscopes and they need the 15 different types of math manipulatives and counting blocks. They need the geo boards and they need the laptop and the iPad and this game and that thing and all these books, and they need everything. And you don't. You really, really don't. If you are starting your homeschooling journey, I'm going to tell you, it can actually be, you can start very, very minimally and add as you need. Okay? You don't really need that much to get started. So I'm going to tell you some things that you definitely need, things that I think might be worth investing in, and things that are kind of like a nice extra. And you'll be surprised at how short this list is. I'm not going to lie. So let's get started. What do you need? What do you need as a homeschooler? Number one, you need a library card. Shocking, right? You're thinking, I thought we were going to get supplies. No, you need a library card. It is going to be free and it is going to give you access to so many things. First off, you can get library books. I know you're like, Amanda, of course. Everyone knows you can get library books. I don't think enough people take advantage of their public library in general. Homeschoolers are much better at it because we're constantly there. But it's not just about the books. There are so many resources and things that you can get from your public libraries that are going to be so beneficial to you as homeschoolers. First off, like I said, just books in its own. This is my personal collection. It's not enough books. We're reading anywhere from 30 to 40 books a month minimum. That includes chapter books too. So we're reading a lot of books. Lots and lots of books. And we want books on all different kinds of topics, different kinds of ideas. I'm using them to supplement unit studies, books, and they're expensive. I'm really excited that our library in the last year or so has implemented receipts that when you check out books, you get your list of all the books that you've checked out. And then at the bottom, it tells you how much it would have cost to purchase all those books. Basically, it's money saved. So library card. The other thing you can get from your local library are all kinds of different resources. Their libraries often have classes or workshops that your kids can participate in. They have sports equipment you can check out. Ours is snowshoes. You can check out snowshoes and go for a snowshoe for a weekend. Try a new activity. You can check out games, puzzles. Some have maker spaces where they have different materials like t-shirt makers or 3D printers. You can access the internet if you don't have the internet or you want to just keep the internet minimized. You can definitely go to the library and use their computers. We can get day use passes for provincial parks at our local library. So you can check out a park pass and go visit a provincial park for a week for day use. And it's fantastic. So definitely get a library card, get to know your librarian, check out your interlibrary loan programs, get a library card and get to know your library. First thing, best thing you can do as a homeschooler. Number two, you're probably going to get some basic supplies. I'm talking pencils, pens, paper, something to write on. Probably going to need that, right? You don't need a lot. I'm going to do a haul probably next week of what I'm going to get for my kids for back to school. But because your kids aren't taking the stuff to school, it's not getting eaten by the pencil sharpeners that are crap at the school. It's not getting lost. No one's breaking the pencils. you don't go through it quite as much, right? So I think we typically do maybe a box of pencils a year for my 2 kids. Like 24 pencils in a year is a lot. Like we maybe get through that in a year. So you don't actually need a lot. So, get something to write on, a notebook or a binder with some paper in it, some pencils, something to color. So markers or pencil crayons, and pens of some kind. And throw in something fun in there, whether it's a gel pen or colored pens or something that makes writing a little bit more interesting. That's really all you need to get started in terms of supplies. Next, I'm going to have a little curriculum, a little bit. You don't need a lot, especially if this is your first year homeschooling. Don't buy everything. Trust me. You don't need everything. You're not going to want everything. You need to start slow. You're going to overwhelm yourself. Start with 2 subjects, tops, math and language. Start there. And then in 4 weeks, add 1 more subject. And then if you're like, hey, I still want to add more, 4 weeks later, add another subject. But you don't need to have it all figured out now, and you don't need to buy it all now. Okay? Especially if you're just starting out. Like, as you get further along and what your kids can handle, and I'm 7 years in, I know what my year kind of looks like and what my kids can handle in a month and in a particular day or whatever. I can purchase a little bit farther in advance, but if you're just starting out, you don't need that much. Pick 1 math program. Pick 1 language program. Start there. You can add as you go. You don't need to spend a fortune. Just start there and get a little bit. Number 5, this might be surprising and maybe not necessarily necessary for everyone, but I do often recommend that homeschoolers get a pair of indoor shoes. Depending on what you can sign your kids up for and where you guys end up going, a pair of indoor shoes can be a fantastic thing to have. Whether you want to go spend the day at the library or like an afternoon at the library, it might be more comfortable to have a pair of indoor shoes. Sometimes certain activities, my kids do Girl Guides, and so they need a pair of indoor shoes for Girl Guides. If your kids are doing like an activity, they might need indoor shoes. If they are going to like the science center, you might want to bring some indoor shoes. I say this especially as like Canadians. When it's cold out, we bring winter boots. So if we're going to the science center, when we get there, we don't want to walk and spend the next 4 hours looking around in our winter boots inside. So we go into the cloakroom, take our boots off, and put on a pair of indoor shoes, and we're off. So yeah, I highly recommend indoor shoes as like something just to have on hand, because you never know when you might need them. If you want to rent the gym for the day and go play with some friends at a gym, it's just a helpful thing to have 1 pair of shoes that is kind of for indoors and is clean. It's kind of my thing. Yeah. So I would say that's probably all you absolutely need. Everything else after that are kind of like nice little things you can add in as you go, or things that you can add as you find they're necessary for your particular family, because every family is different. One other thing that I personally find kind of necessary is a really great homeschool planner. Something that I can write, figure out my lessons, try to stay a little bit organized, see what my week is going to look like. A homeschool planner can be super valuable, especially as a new homeschool parent. This is my personal favorite. It is the one that I designed, which is the Essential Homeschool Planner. You can definitely pick them up. I'll put links for them down below. They come either at printed, like this, bound, shipped right to your door through Amazon, or you can actually get them as PDF and print them yourself if that's what you prefer. And they have all kinds of great resources in here to help you stay on track, help you get organized, help you figure out what you're going to do every day. There's things like long-term planning pages. There's block scheduling for your weekly schedule. There's unit study planners. There's budget planners. That's new this year. Budget planners. There's curriculum lists for keeping track of what your curriculum is. And then there's also the like standard monthly view of like what activities you have happening, keeping track of what your month looks like. And then every week is also included to help you figure out what your week is going to look like. You can do this as like 1 row per kid. You can do that as 1 row per subject. It is totally customizable to what works for your family. And there's so much more in here as well. The other nice thing is if you live in an area where you need to like maybe have some records or whatever, you can either use these to plan ahead, or you can use a great homeschool planner to plan from behind. Meaning at the end of the day, you write down what you did that day and kind of keep track that way. So this is a great option for a lot of families. The Essential Homeschool Planner comes in 7 cool covers, and you'll definitely want to check them out. So I think you definitely need one. I'm a little biased though. Things that you might want to invest in that are not necessarily like necessities, but might be really nice. Personally, I am a big fan of having a lunch box or lunch stuff for your kids. We have a lunch box. It's like a bento box type thing from Lunchbots. We use silicone like muffin liners inside to make like waterproof sections. And then we also have water bottles. The reason why I love having lunch stuff, like something to pack a lunch in, is that it can become really expensive to buy lunch every time you go out. And if you're going out on a regular basis, or if you're going out to field trips and stuff, and you have a couple of kids, that can add up quickly. I can't afford to buy lunch every time we go to like a meetup. So we're packing lunches. We're packing lunches regularly, and it does save us a lot of time. We like the Lunchbots. I've also heard the bento boxes are really great, especially for younger kids. But we do love the Lunchbots ones. They are metal, like stainless steel. They go through the dishwasher, and we purchased them once 5 years ago, and they look brand new. So sometimes it's worth investing a little bit in. And while we're on the topic of it, do you know some people who have these like smaller bento ones where they got like a 6-pack for like $40, depending on what you need for your family? Just get something to pack yourselves lunches and make your life easy. And while we're at it, make sure you get one for yourself, because no one needs a hangry, cranky, hungry, tired mama. We need to eat lunch. We need to fuel our bodies. Do it. Get yourself one. You won't regret it. Trust me. Get yourself one too. Number 2, another thing I would invest in as a homeschool parent is outdoor gear. I know some people, like, maybe it's not as big a deal for you, but like as homeschoolers, my kids spend a lot of time outside. And I know this is true for a lot of homeschoolers. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people like to homeschool their kids, is because it gives them opportunities to be outdoors in nature a lot more. So invest in some really good gear, like gear for all the seasons. Make sure you have, really good snow pants and winter coats, really solid, good boots, really great mittens. Consider like rubber boots and like a splash suit or splash pants and a coat, sun hats, bathing suits. Like over the year, making sure your kids have good quality outdoor gear is worth the investment, because if they're comfortable, they're going to stay outside longer. And when they're outside, they're always going to be learning. They're always going to be exploring. They're always going to be doing new things. And I send my kids outside all the time, especially when I need a little bit of a break. So the more outdoor gear that you have that is quality and it's going to get your kids outside, it's worth the investment. Trust me. And then the next thing I would invest in this year, especially if you're a new homeschool parent, is I would invest in looking for a homeschool class. By homeschool class, I recommend something that is like an activity that you can take your kids to, and they get to do activity with another homeschooler. So for example, my kids do gymnastics. Gymnastics is during the day. So it's like a 11 a.m. class, and they go, and it's all homeschool kids. So all the kids that they're running around with and playing with and doing, backflips and cartwheels with, all homeschool kids. We do the same with jiu-jitsu. Find different activities that are specifically during the day for homeschoolers. The reason why I recommend this, especially if you're a new homeschooler, and I'm not saying you have to pay for the whole year. Buy a session, whatever, September to December, 12 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever it ends up being. The reason I recommend buying a class and getting involved in a class is it gets your kids to connect with other homeschoolers, and it helps them see that they're not the only ones out there in the world that are homeschooling. And the other thing is it gets you to connect with other homeschooling parents, and then you don't feel so alone. Some of the best homeschool friends that I've made have been from people I've met in homeschool classes. And And that has led to other connections of like, oh, well, we're doing homeschool gymnastics has now led to connecting to homeschool jiu-jitsu. Oh, it's also led us to, you know, do co-op. Oh, and then it led us to like a citywide co-op. So we've made connections from going to a class because while the kids are doing their activity, I get to sit there and as homeschool moms start chit-chatting. And now like we share curriculum. Like, hey, I got this. Do you guys want to see what it looks like? Yeah, I've always wanted to see it. We're sharing curriculum. We're talking, like having a hard day. Oh my gosh, what do you guys do when this happens? I now have people who are in the same boat as me and they know the struggles that we're facing. Because if I say, oh my gosh, today was terrible to friends who have their kids in public school, they're like, well, either A, you brought this on yourself, or B, just send them to school is always the answer. So a class is just such a easy way to connect. And I just highly recommend it. So invest in that. And then some nice extras. If you're like, I'd like to add a little extra, I would include a printer. A really nice printer can be really, really helpful, especially if you're printing your own stuff at home. I know as in Canada, a lot of like the really good curriculum companies are in the States and the shipping is astronomical. So I think Canadians end up printing a little bit more than Americans do. But a printer can be fantastic. In terms of recommendations, I've heard nothing but good things about the EcoTank. That is, what I've always heard. I personally use an HP printer with instant ink. I love that option. I find it's the best option for our family. And it's the cheapest option for our family if you're not like printing crazy amounts. Basically what it is like a subscription program where you buy the printer and then you sign up for a subscription and it tracks how many pages you use. And then it sends you ink automatically as your inks run out and get lower and stuff. And because it's all HP, it tracks your printer or whatever. The thing that I like about it is you can change your plan from month to month. So for example, it's August now. I'm going to be printing a whole lot of stuff because I'm getting ready for the whole school year. So I'll up my printing for like 1 month and print a whole bunch of stuff. And then in September, I'll drop my printing back down to like $6 a month. And that covers all of my printing. They have rollover. Anyway, yeah, that's my personal preference. But if you're looking for like a tank that just has ink, EcoTank is an option. I will put links to both of those down below. But yeah, printer is a really nice extra. Another nice extra is art supplies. You don't need to be fancy with art supplies, especially if your kids are younger. But you can get some really nice art supplies at the dollar store. So like markers, watercolor paints or acrylic paints, you can get watercolor paper, canvases are at the dollar store. You can get some really good art supplies to have on hand. They also make for like a really great activity to pull out on kind of regular intervals or to do art classes. So definitely if you can try to get your hands on some art supplies, I don't think you'll regret it. And the next thing that is a really nice extra is an electric pencil sharpener. Hear me out, especially if you have younger kids. Sharpening pencils is the bane of my existence. When they're little, they can't do it. They can't do the little ones unless you're going to like bolt yours to a table somewhere. Like who's going to bolt a pencil sharpener to a table or whatever. Get a electric pencil sharpener. They're about $40. It is just so dreamy. It makes life so much easier. You just push it and it goes bzzz, and it's done. It has automatic stop so you're not over sharpening the pencils. Like an electric pencil sharpener just makes your life so much easier, especially if your kids are big into like coloring, if they are like kind of aggressive with their pencils and they hold them really tightly. I love my electric pencil sharpener. I put a link to the one that we personally have down below. I like the one where it's like narrow and it's the opening is on the front rather than the top. Because I find the top, it gets harder to like find a place for it. Like when it's the openings in the front, I can just like put it on a shelf somewhere. The one thing I do recommend is if you get an electric pencil sharpener, is that you empty it regularly. My kids came to me a few weeks ago and they're like, Mom, the pencil sharpener is broken. And I was like, how is it broken? And I went through, it wasn't broken. It was just jam-packed with pencil shavings. So yeah, it's a really nice extra and it's not super expensive. But it just does make your life so much easier as a homeschooling parent to sharpen pencils, because that can become a whole game in itself. Trust me. And then the last thing that I think is a really nice extra is if you can get yourself one membership to one thing. This year we got a membership to the Science Center, and it is glorious. So if you pick one membership, it becomes a really easy field trip. It becomes a really nice activity to go to. If we're doing science, find something that I can link to my science curriculum or book things. They offer like, and because I have a membership, I get discounts to like the planetarium. I get discounts to the IMAX. So like I can do other things with my membership. But having a membership makes it a little bit easier for you when you're having a rough day and you're like, we've had a rough week. I don't know what to do. Go on a field trip. Want to make some hands-on learning connections? Go on a field trip. You want to do something fun today because your kids have worked really, really hard? Go on a field trip. So if you can have one membership, it's a kind of it just takes the thinking power of like, where are we going to go today? Or what am I going to do with you guys out? And also when you have a membership, you don't feel as guilty time-wise. Like we did this a few years ago. We had a membership to the zoo, even though we live nowhere near the zoo, but we had a membership to the zoo and we actually went a lot more because whenever we were nearby, we would stop in, even if it was just for an hour. Because, you know, whatever, like it's an hour, we can come back another time. It's not a big deal. Rather than be like, okay, we're going to the zoo. We're going to spend the next 10 hours at the zoo and just like making it a huge thing, and being overwhelmed and tired and whatever. You just kind of like, oh, we're trying to kill time. Let's go in there for 45 minutes. Oh, we have 2 hours between appointments. Okay, let's go to the Science Center. Oh, we finished our errands early. Okay, let's go to the Science Center on our way home. Like it becomes something you use more because it's there, but also like like I said, it becomes a really easy break for you and a very easy field trip or learning activity in your day as well. And pick one, do it crazy for 1 year and then pick another one the next year and go crazy and go visit there. That's all you really need. Everything else is bonus. Like I said, most of my list was bonus. It was not extras. It was nice extras. Nice things to invest in, but like not necessary depending on where you are and what your system and your schedule is. So yeah, you don't actually need that much to start homeschooling. Everything else is, you can just use what you have in your home, use what you need, get it as you need it if you think it's really, really necessary. But for the most part, you don't need that much. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I will put links to all of the planners down below. And I will see you guys next week when I do a big supply haul. See you later. Bye.